Hey, yo, what's up, Funk Boot peeps? It's Mighty, and I want to talk to you a little bit about where I stand right now. There's some things that are very different about me on first appearance that stand out that everyone can pick apart. If you needed to identify me in a crowd, everyone will say it. Short guy, he's got a mohawk, he's kind of muscly. That alone will let anyone pick me out of a crowd. But there are some other things that make me different that you might not notice from being able to just look at me. For example, I'm a computer nerd and I'm really into comic books and I've traveled the world and I'm very, very deeply into philosophy and world religions. Um, Another thing that you may not know just from looking at me is that I have an African American father and a Portuguese and Puerto Rican mother. So from a very young age, I knew what it was to be different in that way. In fact, when I was born, I was only a few years out of it being illegal for my mother and father to have that union. And I knew at a very young age what it meant to be different in many different ways. Having a teenage mother, that was very different. We struggled sometimes financially. I knew what it was like to be there. We didn't live in the right part of town. I knew what it was like to be there. And I saw all kinds of negativity happening from people being on the outside, people being in outside groups. And as I grew up, I'm a solution minded person. I knew that there wasn't going to be any immediate change in the way that people were going to stop seeing others as different. In fact, being the age I am now, I'm not sure that that ever will change. I think as long as we have the ability to see differences, there will be some desire to put others on the outs because of that difference. And I realized early on that if anything was going to be different like that for me, it was going to be of my own making. Now, I'll be real brutally honest here. I'm a super duper realist. I don't feel like the world is here to make me happy. I don't feel like anyone is going to try to give me anything at any point. In fact, I have jokingly say this, but a lot of you have heard me say that every day that someone's not actively trying to stab me in the face is a good day, because this is at my core. I believe that humans are all still animals like that, and I love that we have society and civilization. I thank the stars above for that every day, that that kind of thing exists, because I don't expect that. I don't expect that we're going to be civil to each other. I don't expect that everyone's going to just work together. I think that that's a magical thing, that it happens in any degree at all. That said, while I'm very practical and grounded like that, I'm also an idealist, and maybe those two things don't fit together, but here I am. And as an idealist, I am always trying to figure out how I can make things better, how I can make myself better, how I can make the world around me better. And having been confronted so early on and so frequently with this idea of the other, this idea that you could be taken and put into a category that is described as wrong because you're not the same as somebody else, really forced me to make a choice about how I was going to be in the midst of that. Because there's something in me that is not okay with just sitting back on that. Even if I think that it's never going to change from being that way, even if I think that that's an internal struggle that's a part of just being human in life, there's still a part of me that says, yeah, but how can I make that better? Or how can I fix that? Or how can I make it more palatable? And how could I take a stand? And so becoming an adult, you are put in the position of needing to be responsible. If for no other thing, just to be responsible for yourself and decide, how am I going to be in the midst of all of these things? You are called on to make choices. Am I going to be in this group? Am I going to be in that group? Am I going to take this stand? Am I going to take that stand? Am I going to be for or against this? And so I'm no different. And I spent a lot of my early adult years trying to navigate that and decide which is the best way, and should I go with these people and should I go with that people. And I tried a lot of things. Like I said, I lived all over the world. There's a time where I lived in South India in a monastery in a village, a remote village, listening to gurus and trying to figure out if that was the way to go and what stories they had to tell me that made me maybe make sense of all of this world and craziness and beauty that was going on. And it was when I came back from that time that I started really myself on the path that I'm on now. What my solution was, what I decided to do to try to make things better in the world, in the face of all of the otherness that happens, the otherism, I call it, this need to make other people wrong so that I can be right, was to form a community of people, of like-minded people. And I'll be honest, I wish I could say I had this grand plan from the beginning. I did not. All I knew was that I had the ability to affect myself. I had the ability to change my own thinking, change my way of seeing things, make choices that were in favor of the things that I wanted to see more of in the world. What I noticed as a result of that is that it then attracted like-minded people to me, people who also wanted to see those things happen in that same way. And for me, my solution, my thinking was, we have to find a way to embrace the other. We have to find a way to stop seeing what's different as being weakness and as a reason for us to lord over other people, as a reason for us to boost our own egos, and instead, strength. Instead, to see those differences as a means to connect with something in ourselves that we cannot find. I'm of the opinion that every time someone has a different opinion than me, that is an opportunity for me to grow and to strengthen my own perspective on the world. So, as opposed to running from an argument, people have tended to call me argumentative because I find myself seeking that. That's me wanting to know how people are able to see something so differently than I am while looking at the same thing. And to be clear, we are all looking at the same thing. It's this that we're trying to make sense of, this whole world around us. We're all looking at that one thing. But because we're all individuals, because we all have pluses and minuses that no other person has ever gone through, we have a unique perspective on all of this. We see it in a way that others can't see it. And that makes us valuable. When I'm connected with other people, whether they are like-minded or whether they're not, that is valuable. That helps me connect again with something that's in here that I wouldn't have been able to connect with otherwise. Just this morning, making this video is the result of connecting with someone that saw the world differently than what I did, because I wasn't planning to be here like this today. But someone who saw things a different way than me gave me perspective and said, maybe this is something to think about. And I said, well, that's not really the direction I'm going in, but hearing it through your voice, seeing it through your eyes, I realized that this is something that could be valuable for me to do. So I found a way that was consistent with who I am, that took that perspective into consideration and said, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So now back to my story. One person, me, connecting to another person, and then finding another person, and the next thing you know, we have this core family that has this desire to connect with other people and use those differences as strength. One found another, found another, found another, found another, and that brought us to here, literally where I stand today. I'm in the homeroom at Funk Mode, and if you want to know what we're about, this is what we're about. This is where we stand. What this says is that whoever you are, whatever your differences are, whether you believe like us, whether you don't believe like us, whoever, whatever, whenever, you are welcome here. As long as you are ready and willing to embrace others, if you are willing to put aside those differences and not see them as weakness, but instead pull them in as strength, Set aside the differences from the perspective of needing to other them, but bringing them in. This is a place where you can be you. That's what I want. And this, to be clear, is just a building. This is just paint on the wall. Funk Mode as an entity is just a thing. And I'm proud of that thing, and I'm glad that it's been here as long as it has been, but this business could go away. As a matter of fact, given everything that's been happening, I can't even promise that this business is going to be able to continue. I don't know. I'm hopeful, but I don't know. But I'll tell you what won't go away is this. Because this is something stronger than brick and mortar. This is something stronger than an era. This is something that comes from in here. It's something that's even probably deeper than being a human. All Love says that we can all gain power from what each other has to offer. That we are strengthened by our differences. And that is what we welcome in to our home here. So my solution, where I stand, was to create a community of people, a community of all love, where everyone can be themselves and where everyone is welcome. To conclude, I want to put an all love challenge out to you guys today. We all have people that we put on the outside for different reasons. We all have people that are wrong in our world and against whom we are right. The all love challenge is, to the extent possible, even if it's just in your heart and in your mind, even if there's not some physical outward manifestation of this that you can muster. Open to that difference. Try to hold that difference and see it as strength instead of weakness. Try to connect with that other in a way that you couldn't connect with it before, that you couldn't allow yourself to connect with before. Because that's what all love is. It's, instead of taking someone else and putting them on the outside, is to open that door instead and let them in. Thank you for listening to me today. I'm Mighty. Peace out and all love.